So the most anticipated episode of Classroom Elite has finally aired out, and if you're a Classroom Elite fan, if you read the light novels, I think you would know why so many people were looking forward to this particular episode, and it was the most infamous scene that was going to get adapted in the anime. So what are my overall thoughts of that scene? Well, you just have to find out when I get into that particular part in the video. For now, let's just go back to how the episode started. So the episode started with Kei being bullied by Manabe's group. This was like the cliffhanger of episode 2, where it showed that Kei was being bullied by Manabe's group and Ayanokoji and Yukimura were watching. Now, of course, this continues in the beginning of the episode, but Yukimura tells Ayanokoji they should probably be doing something, to which Ayanokoji still says not yet. Of course, Yukimura isn't Ayanokoji, so he's not going to let this all happen. So he pushes Ayanokoji's hand off of him and confronts the girls. Now, of course, after they realized that they were being, watched by other people, they decide to just act as if they were not doing anything bad and they were just simply talking to Kei. Manabe's group leaves and Kei is just there sitting on the floor crying. Yukimura tries to comfort her, but Kei seems to be more mad at Yukimura because she claims she didn't need anybody's help and just runs away. Yukimura can't believe the response even after he tried to defend her, but Ayanokoji is different. He simply stares at Kei when she's running away and then later on says in his head that maybe he should start acting on his plan, clearly showing that Ayanokoji has some sort of plan involving Kei and that now he's going to take the initiative. We then get a scene of Ayanokoji seems to be messaging someone on his phone. Clearly this is part of his plan, and the camera points to the phone in which it shows that he is messaging Manabe. Clearly this is something that's going to be involving Kei and something that has to do with Ayanokoji's plan. We get the next scene in which we see that they're part of the lower boat. Now this is the area in which there's barely any cell phone service, and it is the part where Kei thinks that she is going to talk to Hirata because Hirata messaged her saying to meet her at the lower floors of the boat. Now one thing that was really interesting was the fact that they kind of did skip the whole scene in which there was supposed to be a conversation with Ayanokoji and Hirata, in which Ayanokoji asks Hirata to message Kei to meet her down there, to which Hirata asks why, and which Ayanokoji responded by saying that he's going to help Kei out. And Hirata, trusting Ayanokoji, did what he was told. So I'm kind of curious if they're going to add this scene in the next episode. Probably not, maybe not, because I think the whole cruise ship arc ended in episode 3. They kind of already established that, yeah, the cruise ship arc is already done. They already finished the test. So I'm curious if there's going to be mention of that scene. Maybe when Ayanokoji and Hirata are talking, maybe there'll be a flashback to which, that whole scene happened. But who really knows? I highly doubt it. But for now, they did skip that whole scene before the events that were about to happen next. We dig into the scene of Kei actually in the lower floors of the boat, and she's thinking that she's going to meet Hirata, but of course she ends up seeing Manabe's group with the girl that she supposedly picked on. And once she saw Manabe's group, she was not happy, and that's when Manabe's group started bullying her once again. It was during this scene that Manabe asked Kei has she ever been bullied before, and as soon as she said that sentence, Kei was trembling in fear. It was very obvious that Kei's past was something that she did not want to remember, and it's very clear that yes, she did in fact get bullied in the past. And Manabe just simply is amazed that Kei was always putting on this act of her being all tough and all, when in reality she was very fragile and a very sensitive person when it came to people picking on her. Because of this, they decide to start picking on Kei once again, and they decide to get the girl who was supposedly bullied by Kei to slap Kei. Now at first it very much was obvious that the girl did not want to be involved in any of this. It was very clear that they probably just made her go down there just so that they could have an excuse to pick on Kei. But as the girl is slapping Kei, she starts to actually smile and starts to have fun slapping Kei around, which already made me think, yeah, these people are insane. Like, this whole group is just insane. And as all of this is happening, Ayanokoji is clearly watching from behind, and he actually says something really interesting. He says in his head how Manabe actually did all the work for him. It seems that Ayanokoji wasn't expecting Manabe to put Kei into rock bottom very quickly, but that's not the case. Manabe was very quick to pick on Kei, and does that make Kei pretty much hit rock bottom because she's reliving the same thing that she encountered in her past. After the bullying, Ayanokoji decides to take the initiative and starts to walk towards Kei, which Kei is surprised that Ayanokoji is even here in the first place. But Ayanokoji cuts to the chase, telling Kei that he knows all about her secrets, all about her past, so she doesn't need to hide it anymore. To which Kei responds by trying to slap Ayanokoji, but of course Ayanokoji blocks it and just pins her to the wall, in which she starts talking once again, saying that Kei is just a parasite and that she needs other people to help her to be protected. To which Kei responds saying that what does Ayanokoji want? Is she just after her body? And Ayanokoji responds saying that's also an option. To which we get the infamous scene, and this is when we got to see the scene that I think a lot of people were kind of seeing how they were going to adapt it. We got the infamous scene in which Ayanokoji tells Kei to spread her legs. To which Kei's response was just her being so surprised. Like, that face she did in that scene pretty much sums up how she was feeling at that moment. She was just surprised and just shocked that Ayanokoji made that request. Kei then talks saying how, why is Ayanokoji doing all this? She's never been bullied by him, so why is he doing all this? Is it just because he knows everything about her or knows the secrets that she tried to hide? And what's more interesting is that when she was saying all this, she was actually spreading her legs, pretty much indicating that she was willing to do what Ayanokoji told her to do. Obviously, Ayanokoji wasn't going to do anything that horrible to Kei. He was just testing her to see how far she was willing to go. And after this, Ayanokoji says to Kei that he is going to protect her from now on. But of course, in return, she's going to have to work for him. And just to show Kei that he was actually going to protect her, he showed her a video that he recorded on his phone in which it was obviously Manabe's group picking on her, to which, it was very clear that Ayanokoji was being serious, that he was actually going to protect Kei. He tells Kei that, if Manabe ever tries to pick on her, she could just threaten her, saying that she has footage of them picking on her that she could report to the school, which has made it clear that Ayanokoji was always 2 steps ahead. It was very clear that in order for him to get Kei to be on his side, he needed to do all this in order for Kei to trust him. So yeah, overall, I think they did the scene justice. Granted, they had to tone it down a little bit because obviously there were some things that, were probably a little bit too far. And you have to remember that anime in Japan tends to air on TV, so obviously they're going to have some regulations. So they weren't going to fully adapt everything that happened in this scene between Ayanokoji and Kei. So it was obvious that they were going to not adapt everything that happened between their conversations and what Ayanokoji did to Kei to, get her to be on his side. But I still did the scene justice. I still think they did the scene justice because we got to establish what Ayanokoji was willing to do in order to get a win. And this also introduced us to the kind of person Kei is and how, Kei is going to be somebody that's going to play an important role in Ayanokoji's future plan. After the whole, situation between Ayanokoji and Kei has ended, we get the next scene in which it's the final group meeting that Ayanokoji's group has to talk before the test ends. But it seems that Ayanokoji got there really early because there's nobody there. Well, there's nobody there except for Ichinose, who is sleeping. Now, there was some interesting dialogue that they cut down in this scene in which Ayanokoji, was actually thinking of looking at Ichinose's phone because the camera did point out that, Ichinose's phone was right next to her. And he was actually thinking that, he could take a quick look at what she had on her phone. But then he stopped himself because he didn't want to lose Ichinose's trust if he was caught red-handed. Also, there was a little bit of dialogue in which Ayanokoji says something along the lines that he wasn't expecting to see Ichinose sleep. Not really anything majorly cut, but, just to let you know that there was some dialogue when this scene was taking place. So Ayanokoji decides to simply take a seat on the table, to which as soon as he did that, Ichinose's phone alarm went on, to which Ichinose woke up. And it's at that point Ichinose noticed Ayanokoji and tells him good morning. To be honest, I was kind of surprised that she didn't question why Ayanokoji was there really early, but I guess Ichinose didn't really mind Ayanokoji being there too early. This caused Ichinose to start talking to Ayanokoji about the whole overall goal that they had, which is to be in class A. Ichinose asks Ayanokoji that if he wants to be in class A, to which Ayanokoji says that he's not against going to class A, to which Ichinose responds saying that they do have similar goals, but the fact is that only one of their classes will be able to reach class A. And Ayanokoji points out saying that unless you have 20 million points, in which at that point, if the person has 20 million points, they could go to class A. And this makes Ichinose question Ayanokoji, saying that if he happened to look at how much points she had during that whole scene in season 1 in which Ayanokoji had Ichinose's phone, and it was very clear that Ayanokoji noticed something. And in here we get, confirmation that Ayanokoji did see how many, points she had, in which she had over 2 million points. So she was already getting a decent amount of points, to which Ichinose says that it's fine, that she didn't really mind him seeing how many points he had. But Ichinose makes it clear that that's probably the first and last time he is going to see the amount of points she has, to which Ayanokoji responds saying that he's not really surprised. We then get the scene of the final meeting in which the entire classes discuss, what to do next. Obviously, Class B does not want to just stay silent because the only people that are going to benefit from this whole strategy is just Class A. To which he makes a plan saying that, in order to see who the VIP is, everyone must show their phones with the email that they got from the school. Obviously, the VIP got a different email than the rest of them, so it's pretty much easy to point out who will be the VIP based on doing this strategy. Some people are opposed to it, like for example, Class A. However, it's Class B that shows their emails first, saying that, they have nothing to hide because they are not the VIPs. This prompts Ayanokoji to do the exact same thing, showing his phone that he also is not the VIP. And then after that, everyone does it as well. The professor from Class D does it as well. Then the Class C girls like Ibuki and Manabe's group do it as well. And then Yukimura shows his phone that reveals that he is the VIP. And everyone was shocked that Yukimura was a VIP. Well, everyone except Ayanokoji, but we'll see soon why he's not as surprised. However, just as everyone was convinced that Yukimura was a VIP, Yukimura's phone rings. Although it seems that it wasn't Yukimura's phone that was ringing, it was actually Ayanokoji's phone. You see, Ichinose called Ayanokoji's phone and she says how she only has Ayanokoji's contact and not Yukimura. So therefore, that phone that Yukimura was holding was Ayanokoji's, meaning that at that point, people now realize that it was Ayanokoji who was a VIP. Or so they thought. However, for the time being, everyone was now convinced that it was Ayanokoji who was a VIP. Yukimura was mad because it seemed that he was involved in the plan of, faking who the VIP is, but now he's upset that the plan didn't work. Or so he thought. In the next scene, we get an interaction between Kei and Ayanokoji, to which Kei responds saying that the plan worked out well. Now you may be wondering, what was this plan? Well, if you recall, Ayanokoji was talking to Kei, and in that conversation, in that moment where Ayanokoji is like, you didn't hear what he was saying, it was pretty much saying that Kei was a VIP. Like, he found out that Kei was a VIP of the group, but that he had a plan to make sure that people didn't find out who that VIP is. Kei asked, how was he going to do that? And it was very simple. Switch phones. He was going to switch Kei's phone to make it look like it was his phone, and then give his phone to Yukimura to make it seem as if, Yukimura is the VIP. But Ayanokoji states that the only downside to this plan is the fact that if Yukimura or Ayanokoji get outed, then this plan may not work at all. To which Kei responds saying, but what about the email? Since she has the email, she's the only one that has the email that says that she's a VIP. To which Ayanokoji responds saying that they could just simply switch the SIM cards of their phones. To which Kei responds saying that if that's even possible. To which Ayanokoji responds saying that points can buy you anything. And it is at this point that the scene of which he was having a conversation with Chabashira made sense. Ayanokoji used his points to get access to unlock the SIM cards of their phones. Therefore, if they switch their SIM cards, they won't know who the VIP is. However, he didn't tell us to Yukimura. It seems that Yukimura was actually believing that Ayanokoji was a VIP. So it seems that Ayanokoji already switched his SIM card to Kei's, before he met Yukimura. That's why Yukimura pretty much was upset that he thought that the plan failed. However, that was not the case whatsoever. However, it seems that there was somebody else who knew about this plan of Ayanokoji, and that was Ichinose. When Ayanokoji was talking to Kei, Ichinose stepped in to say that his plan was actually very clever, to which Ayanokoji responds by saying if Ichinose did know about his plan, to which Ichinose responds saying that she did know that Ayanokoji was not the VIP, that it was someone else. To which Ayanokoji responds saying why didn't she interfere with his plan if she knew that Ayanokoji was not the VIP, to which Ichinose responded simply saying that, well, that was not going to benefit Class B, pretty much confirming that, if Class A and Class C were to betray them and, say who that VIP is or who they thought the VIP is, they will be the most affected, negatively, which as in Class B's case, they're not going to be affected negatively because of what the Class C or Class A does. And after this conversation, we get another scene in which it has Ayanokoji, Horikita, Sudo, and Karuizawa on a table looking at their email, to which they get an email saying that Class C won the test, something that everyone wasn't shocked, and even Horikita, because she was just as surprised that her plan didn't work. It seemed that she was really confident that her plan was going to work, and wouldn't you know, speaking of Ryuuen decides to show up and pretty much say that yeah, he was going to win no matter what, to which Horikita responds saying, how did he win since nobody was outed in the VIP in the group, to which Ryuuen responds saying that he knew all along from day 2 that Kushida was a VIP, something that Horikita was caught by surprise because she really was confident that no one found out who the VIP was, but it seems that Ryuuen somehow found out that Kushida was a VIP of the group. And one last thing Ryuuen tells to Horikita is that she needs to watch herself because this is just the beginning and that he's going to be doing more things to come in the near future. And thus ends the episode with just simply Ayanokoji realizing that Class D is Ryuen's main focus, and it's very clear that Class D is going to have to do something to deal with whatever Ryuuen comes up with next, and thus ends the episode. So overall, pretty good episode. I'm glad that they did the whole scene with Ayanokoji and Kei justice. I really was looking forward to seeing how they're going to handle that, because some people were worried. Some people were worried that they were going to have to drastically change a few things because of course there were going to be some moments in which they had to tone it down. But it does seem that they did pretty much keep it very much accurate to what was in the light novel. Granted, there were a few things that they did change, like they cut some of the dialogue between Kei and Ayanokoji. They did not showed everything that happened between their, conversation and what Ayanokoji did to Kei to get her to be by his side. But overall, very solid episode. Obviously, the cruise ship arc was a little bit rushed. I will say that. I'm pretty sure that the next episode will be going into the sports festival arc. But I still think this is a very good episode. And, I can't wait to see what happens next in episode 4. So until then, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time.